Whether you're having a good football season or a bad, it's always nice to beat Northwestern.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Locked On Illini. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Sunny Verma. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, you can find us on your favorite audio platforms, whether it's Spotify, Pocket Casts, or Apple. You can also find us right here on YouTube or on all the social medias. Do a quick search for Locked On Illini. Hit that subscribe button. Come say hello to me. All that helps the channel grow. It costs you guys absolutely nothing. But it works with the algorithms, you know how all that technical stuff. So it's a way for you to support the program while not actually having to spend any money. While you're here, please hit that like button. We're getting so close to 2,000 subscribers, and that's the goal that I set for myself by the calendar year. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Northwestern game. It's a Friday evening episode, so I kind of want to stay a little bit more relaxed. We'll preview the Northwestern football game as well as I asked earlier in the week for a community show. On Friday, which is when I'm recording this, I asked, I was going to basically do a Q&A. If you had some questions about Illinois football, Illinois basketball, or if you just had questions for me in general, and I'm going to read a couple of those in the very next segment. But first and foremost, we're going to start, it's rivalry week. It's Northwestern, it's Illinois, and it's at Wrigley Field. Question for you guys. Do you like it when these rivalry games, or really any games, are at neutral fields? Would you prefer to play at Northwestern and in Champaign, or do you like the allure of a game in a place like Wrigley Field? Or is it something where you want to mix and match? Maybe have it at Wrigley every 5 years or so. Let me know what you think. Me personally, I think I'd be okay with like a 1 out of 5 year model. Right. I like home games. One of my favorite parts about college athletics is just the college atmosphere. I like college kids enjoying themselves, and providing that extra energy for the atmosphere. Wrigley Field, it's a very cool experience. Obviously, I'm a former Chicago Cubs season ticket holder. I've been there plenty, and it's going to be cool to watch, but I don't know if I'd want to necessarily get used to watching football games there. Speaking of football, let's talk Northwestern. Now, I'll be honest, usually for these preview episodes, I like to bring on a person who covers the other team. I just think it offers vantage point from both sides, and we get a clue about, learning a little bit more about the opponent. But I was struggling I had someone scheduled. Unfortunately, it fell through. So it's just going to be me for the most part talking about. I'll probably talk more so on the Illinois side as opposed to Northwestern. But I will say there is a path for Northwestern to win this game. This is a must-win for Illinois, and I know that sounds silly. We've already won 8 games this year. We're sitting at nice 8-3. But if we want, the opportunity to go to Citrus Bowl and play a team like Alabama, a 9-3 is going to be huge. You never want to lose a rivalry game to an in-state rival who you're battling for recruits over, right? On Thursday, some of you saw the breaking news edition of Locked On Illini, where we had 4-star linebacker Grant Bierman flip his commitment from Purdue to Illinois. And why is that? It's obviously right now Purdue's in big trouble. Ryan Walters, if Purdue had more money, would probably be out of a job this offseason. But it looks like he's going to be kept on for another year to try to right the ship. But in the process, they're losing a lot of their recruiting class, who has lost confidence that Ryan Walters is going to be there through the remaining part of their careers. Same can be said for Northwestern. For those of you who are my everydayers, you know that I just didn't see Northwestern duplicating the success that they had from last year. And for the most part, they really haven't. They currently have a 4-7 record overall, 2-6 in the Big Ten Conference. Now, Northwestern's another team that's obviously they're rebuilding Ryan Field. They're really investing a lot of money in their facilities. Northwestern and Purdue are our locked in rivals. And let's be honest, Illinois is pretty fortunate that those two programs are the ones that we're locked in with. Those two are the programs who, don't necessarily have the resources that maybe if we were locked into a annual game against Nebraska. Nebraska's got a lot of money. They can afford bringing in top-notch recruiting classes, and eventually, maybe they already have, they'll figure it out with Matt Rule or whoever coaches there next. But this game against Northwestern, their season has been a struggle. Our season has been great. And the exclamation point for this season could very well be a nice, sound beating of the Wildcats. Now, how is Northwestern possibly going to win this game? There's only one guy that I'm truly worried about, and that is their quarterback, Jack Lausch. Now, Lausch, I wouldn't really even say is a top half Big Ten quarterback, but what he can do is run the ball. And what we've seen in recent history with Illini football is that sometimes the quarterback can just get away. In the last 6 games, Jack has rushed for 7 times, 14 times, 11 times, 3 times, and 10 times. On October 19th, he actually ran for 55 yards. And keep in mind with college football stats, they add in the sacks, so it may have been even longer than that. If you told me to look in the future and Northwestern had won the game and you made me guess how Northwestern won the game, I'd probably imagine it was a big game from Lausch and maybe his legs. But, but really what I came here to do is talk about Illinois. The big story obviously is going to be Pat Bryant and his opportunity to break the Illinois season record for receiving touchdowns. Pat currently sits at 9 touchdowns for the season. The Illini record is 10. The Illini record is 10 touchdowns. I think for a game where Illinois is probably pretty clearly the better team, they're going to, if the game gets out of hand, they will try to make magic happen, and they'll try to reward those that deserve to be rewarded. And I can't talk enough about Pat Bryant. I've talked about him constantly on this show. In the preseason, when I knew he was going to be our number 1, maybe number 2, depending on where you view Zachary Franklin, I had my reservations. And not that I didn't think he could do it, but all I said was that was going to be a question mark coming into the season. But he's had a magical season. He's been not only the best Illini wide receiver, but he arguably, in my opinion, he belongs on the All Big Ten first team. And how he can get there is by having a huge game against Northwestern. Pat currently sits at 914 yards receiving. As I mentioned, 9 touchdowns. Me here at Locked On Illini, if he has another big game tomorrow, I'm certainly going to be voicing my opinion and, releasing graphics and all that kind of stuff, trying to get the attention of the college football world and let them acknowledge that Pat Bryant indeed is one of the best receivers in the Big Ten Conference. And I want your help with that too. When you see those graphics, whether it's on any of the social medias, share them. We need to get the word out that Pat Bryant deserves to be on the All Big Ten team. I want to hear your score predictions. Mine, I'll say, I think Brett Bielema and that coaching staff and the players remember the heartbreak of last season's loss that prevented Illinois from going to a bowl game. I'm going to predict Illinois 37, Northwestern 13. I think Illinois is going to be incredibly focused and really go all out Saturday at Wrigley Field. I do want to hear your prediction, so let me know in the chat. College basketball season is well underway, and let me tell you, there's no other experience like watching your favorite team at the home stadium. When you're looking for tickets, make sure you start off with the Game Time app. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All-in pricing, toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Okay, now to your questions. Again, earlier in the week, I asked that on Friday, I was going to release more of a community episode where we were able to go back and forth. If you had any questions about any of the Illinois programs, athletic programs, let me know. If you had a question about me personally, it was a way for you guys to reach out, ask whatever you wanted, and I would answer it on today's show. So we're going to start off with the ones that do have to do with Illinois sports. And the first one is by Simeon Fuller. Simeon's one of my everydayers. I appreciate you. First off, it was Simeon Fuller. Simeon, I've seen your name in the comments and in the chat, so I appreciate you stopping by routinely here on Locked On Illini. He asked, I like Morez and Tomislav playing together. What are your thoughts, Sunny? Simeon, I completely agree. I hinted at this yesterday during the Illinois-Arkansas post-game. I think Illinois has a death lineup that at some point during the season is going to be unleashed together, and it's going to snatch souls. And that lineup being Kylan, Boswell, Kasparis, Will Riley, Morez Johnson, and Tomislav Ivicic. Now, some of you might be asking, do you think it's time to bring Morez Johnson into the starting lineup? And to that answer, my answer is no. Simply because if Ivicic or Morez Johnson are starting the games together, early, playing together, and one of them gets into foul trouble, that disrupts the flow of your team the rest of the game. Morez Johnson, as talented as he is, he's a big in the Big Ten Conference. And we know what happens to young freshman bigs in the Big Ten Conference. They get fouls called on them. Well, whether they're justified or if it's one of those, referees targeting the younger big men in the league, I don't know, but it's reality. So that doesn't mean I don't think that that's our best lineup. And with 5 minutes left, when you're playing a team like Purdue and the score is, within a couple baskets of each other and you need to put in your best lineup, I think those five guys, they play well together. Their skills balance each other out. I think Morez and Tomislav, truthfully, in a lineup together are perfect. You can't have another non-shooter on the court with Morez Johnson, but the other four guys on the court can shoot. Tomislav himself, despite being 7'1", he hit 6 for 9 3-pointers against Arkansas. He can spread the floor, which allows Morez Johnson to attack the rim, get those alley-oop opportunities from a guy like Kasparis. And what he does is on the defensive side, he makes up for what Tomislav lacks. He's a big physical presence. And as you guys know, in my opinion, he was put on this earth to rebound the basketball. So, Simeon, fantastic question. Let me know if you guys agree with me, disagree with me. Do you think Morez Johnson should be inserted in the starting lineup? I'm actually very curious to hear your thoughts. Next question is from Jeremy. So far, the metrics say the defense is better than last year. Does your eye test agree? And if so, what specifically do you see that makes it better? Jeremy, fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking. And I think without a doubt, the defense on this year's team is better than the defense from last year's team. And the reason being is that last year's team, it's shocking to think that a team that put out Terrence Shannon Jr., Ty Rodgers, and Coleman Hawkins, individually three fantastic defenders, would struggle so much as a unit. But really, it's because of the pieces of the puzzle, right? Ty Rodgers, we asked to guard the opposition's point guard for a big part of last year, and that's just not where his skill set translates to. We didn't have a natural point guard. Marcus Domask played one on the offensive end, but it was hard for him to keep up and guard with the guys on the defensive end. So we asked Ty Rodgers to do it. We all know the story about Coleman Hawkins. Coleman Hawkins was a fantastic college basketball player. He still is a fantastic college basketball player. He's a good defensive basketball player, but he was way undersized to be playing the 5 position in the Big Ten Conference. And sure enough, last year, the opposing big men feasted on Coleman to no fault of Coleman's. He was basically put in a position where I don't think you could really succeed, but that's just has to do with the makeup of the roster. This year, we don't have that problem. Kylan Boswell is shutting potential All-Americans down almost on a week-to-week basis with his defensive efforts. Mark Sears had his worst day as a collegiate athlete when Kylan Boswell locked him up. When it comes to the big men, we have true natural big men. Thomas Lavavisa is 7'1", 250. Morez Johnson, I believe, is 6'9", 245. Like actual big men in the Big Ten Conference. So there's no size mismatches that opposing teams can really take advantage of anymore. And sure enough, I mean, if you take a look at the analytics when it comes to the Illini, I mean, the Illini are not only not bad when it comes to the numbers, but actually this year it looks like we might be good. Now, is this going to carry over through to the rest of the season? I think it's a little early to say that, but I do think that there's a reason the defense looks so much better than last year, and that's just because we have the proper pieces in place as opposed to last year when we were trying to force feed, a square to fit in a circle, if that makes sense. Sante Wong asks, which sport will have the most success this year? This question's another fantastic one. Thank you so much for asking. This is actually very difficult if you really think about it, because football has essentially set the standard now. Potentially, our football team will have won 10 games this season if they win their bowl game. But if they beat Northwestern, you're looking at a 9-3 season and playing in the best bowl game that doesn't involve a college football playoff. Now, those are very high standards. And so what's the equivalent to that? Is it an Elite Eight when it comes to men's basketball or even women's basketball? Those are the three I'm going to be basically comparing to. I think the men's basketball team absolutely can make it to the Elite Eight if they continue to shoot the way that they've been playing. In particular, we saw a glimpse of it in that first half against Arkansas. I don't know if I would make that the expectation. The Illini women's team, I know, again, it's a growing sport, and some of you may not be paying as close attention as you should be, but trust me when I say you should be. Shauna Green has an absolute machine rolling. We've got some crazy amounts of talent coming in. The team right now is very good. They're in the top 25, and they're led by a very veteran group, which is why I'm kind of excited to see how they do in the tournament this year. But, last year they were in the WIT, so maybe making the jump from WBIT champion to all of a sudden an Elite Eight or Final Four run might be out of reach. So I'll put them to the side and decide between the Illini men's basketball team and the Illini football team. And quite honestly, I want to give credit to the football team. This is a basketball school. This is where most of the passion resides when it comes to fans. So, the basketball team being successful is not only welcomed, but almost expected. I don't know how often I can say that the football team is the best program that we have at the school right now. And I'm not saying overall it's the best program. Obviously, the Illini basketball team has capabilities of winning national championships, where the football team is probably at least a decade away from getting to that level. But if you set the standard at what Illinois football looks like it can achieve, and that's a 9-3 record, playing in the Citrus Bowl on New Year's Day against a team like Alabama, I think that might be the peak and the best performing sport that we have. Santi also asked, how did you discover your fandom for the Fighting Illini? Another great question. Well, most of you know I grew up in Chicagoland, and my wife jokes around that I have no other hobbies in life outside sports. Some of you know that. Outside here on Locked On Illini, I have another channel called Illini Cast, the Big Ten Show, which is where I cover the entire Big Ten Conference with Justin Adams. But I also do cover the Chicago Bears for Bears on Tap, for On Tap Sports. I enjoy sports. I've always liked sports. The answer is really quite simple. Like I said, I grew up in Chicagoland, and there wasn't really a team for me to affiliate myself with. So naturally, I just picked the best school in the best conference, and that was Illinois. I wouldn't say I was necessarily diehard. Now, I got my bachelor's degree at a school that doesn't play D1 sports, but eventually I did get the opportunity to go to the University of Illinois and get my MBA there. And once I went to school there, got my degree there, that's what really solidified me in becoming an Illinois athletics supporter. So again, fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking. We had another great question by Sean. Sean asked, how connected with the Illini program are you? Do you have or get insider information? It seems like the Locked On panel is just a bunch of fans talking smack about other schools with no real substance. Not dogging it, just curious. Sean, great question. I do think you're not giving proper credit to some of the hosts here on Locked On Network. Now, of course, with each individual school, individual team, it varies, right? You're going to have some that are great at it, some who are struggling at it. I think for the most part, the people that I've worked with here at Locked On cover their team in a fantastic way. They do a really, really good job. You have guys who have been covering the team for 20, 25 years on daily radio shows, who also do their Locked On shows in the evening. You have guys who've been covering the team on the side through a newspaper or another online outlet who also do it here with the Locked On Network. Now, where do I reside? That's up to you guys to decide. Some of you may like me, some of you may not. Now, me, I fall probably somewhere in the middle. I have been covering the Illini previous to me getting this Locked On Illini show, but now I have to be very careful about who my quote sources are. And so I basically literally reached out to the sources, letting them know, hey, I was going to answer this question on Friday. How can I describe you without letting the secret out? And basically, this is what they said. One guy said, I'm allowed to mention that I do have a guy who he actually became a fan of the show, and through the show reached out to me, and we've been sharing dialogue, and we basically talk almost every single week. He watches every single practice for the Illini men's basketball team. That's all he's allowing me to say. That's all he's allowing me to say. And so out of respect for him, that's all I'm going to say. I also have, when it comes to the NIL, as I mentioned in my previous field, one of the benefits to my previous 9-to-5 is I got to really build relationships with, very Fortune 500 companies, and at the heads of those companies who I used to converse with on a weekly basis. You're talking about, people who are very wealthy, very influential in their own certain ways. And one of the things that they like to talk about, whether it's in a client meeting or golf or whatever it might be, it's sports. And so through that, I've actually built some pretty good contacts when it comes to some of the biggest donors to Illini athletics. And if you know anything about collegiate athletics, the donors know things almost as soon as the coaching staff, sometimes even before the coaching staff, the players know. Those guys were friends with me before I started this channel, and so they've kind of carried over that relationship with the idea, of course, that I always respect. And if you notice something, I never leak something, even though I might know about it. That's usually out of respect for them. Once it's reported by another outlet, I'll jump on it. But I'm never usually the guy who wants to leak things, even though I might know. And that's just because I have so much respect for the relationship and the information that's being provided to me. Now, do I wish I was in Champaign? Absolutely. I wish I could return to campus, but you have other outlets who do exactly that. But I do have what I think is the next best thing. And that's just people who, again, are watching some of these practices and at least talk to the coaches, both on the football and men's basketball side, on a first name basis. And, if that's enough for you, great. If that's not enough, like I said, the Illini are covered very well. There's a lot of sources out there that cover the Illini very well who do have more boots on the ground, if that's what you're looking for. But I do my best here. And, I'm very proud of the covers that we have here at Locked On Illini. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And that'll just about wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Listen, if you're on Discord, I know not everyone is, but if you are on Discord, please click the link in the description. We've got a little growing community there where we're talking Illini sports, professional sports, and just life in general on a daily basis. And we're having a lot of fun, and I'm looking to continue to grow that community. So please, if you have Discord, consider joining us there. On your way out, if you don't mind, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. What that does is it costs you guys nothing, but it shares this channel to other potential Illini fans. I would greatly appreciate that. If you're listening to this on the audio platform, please find us on YouTube when you're done and just hit that subscribe button, and vice versa. If you guys are YouTube watchers, I know a lot of you are. If you don't mind, find us on your favorite audio platform, hit that subscribe button. It's Friday. The vibes are good. Smash that like button if you want the Illinois Fighting Illini to finish the regular season at 9-3 against the Northwestern Wildcats on Saturday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the post game against Northwestern. I'm going to see how my schedule allows. I don't know if I'm going to be attending the game or not, or where I'll be watching it from. So I can't promise there's going to be a post game tomorrow, but most of you guys know, everydayers know, that I do a post game after every game, schedule allowing. If you have other questions that you want to leave for future community episodes, please don't be shy. Just leave it in the Discord, one of the social medias, ask me there, whatever it might be. I'm here for you guys. There's a reason that this channel has been growing, one of the 20% fastest channels on the Locked On Podcast Network, and that's because of watchers and listeners like you. And so you guys continue to support me, and I'll turn around right back and support you. Let's go, Illini. Let's finish the season 9-3, and who knows, maybe 10-3. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.